Ladies and gentlemen, we have I want to say a guy here like I do with all the other people that I'm interviewing, but this person is my brother. I wouldn't make it too mysterious. He's the guy he's older than me, and not just being older, he's a guy I kind of look up to. You know, he's a good example. As far as the ball, for all of you guys here in Toronto or internationally who know me as a baller, this is the guy who was before me, different positions, but stable that I used to look. He made the national. He's gonna cover all the bases. He covered plenty bases, and I feel like I was blessed to have him ahead of me. We were never competing for positions, so that was good. And so what I'll do is ask him to introduce himself, and we'll take it. This one will be very spontaneous, because obviously there's a familiarity there, and hopefully you enjoy it as I will. So I'll ask him to introduce himself to the public.
Okay, my name is Victor McGill. In my football career, better known as Bigger, and now known as MC. Of course, we lived in Mova, as you would know, and in terms of my rise, if you want to call it that, I attended, the Mova RC school. I went on to the Western Boys School, from where passed an exam, attended Belmont Intermediate, which later on, before I left, became a school that participated in secondary school football. But of course, it's another story. I never played for the school. That's a story to be discussed at some other time. And after my schooling, I and my brother, we spent, I think, a year or year and a half at Osmond High School, right? And after that, I got into, it was time to work. And fortunately, I was able to have a job as a school teacher. But going through all of that, of course, my football career started at some point, which we will discuss in a while.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I administrate a lot here in Toronto in the soccer, but now you guys will recognize that most of my expertise came with experience. Uh, and the experience is again following these guys. I was with a we call minor league or community league team that had constitutions and stuff. And I'll ask Victor now to talk about Sipiani and the landscape and how Sipiani helped in our career to bring us up to a certain stage.
Yes, Sibrani United was a very well organized, disciplined, structured organization. In the minor league in Nova, we had, some of our players used to play with other teams before. But we, the younger generation, just found, you know what? So many of us from one area and people playing all over the place. So we decided to form one team. So we got together and we had a constitution. So it was properly organized. It wasn't just guys coming together to play football. We had a constitution, and we in fact we also made our own clothes. We sewed our own clothes, as we would say, because coming from an area like Mova, not many of us had money, the kind of money people have today. So we look for ways to create our own uniforms, etc. And we did that. We were so well developed and organized that even with our practices, right? We did a lot of practice very early at mornings, right? As early as 4 o'clock, 4:30. And we had things like a disciplinary committee. And the disciplinary committee was very stringent. I was the head, of course. They were very stringent, and we had things that we call you have to have court appearances. So if you were late for any appointment, practices and so on, without proper excuse, so to speak, then you were summoned to what we call court, and if found guilty, you were charged. But the charges were, minimal. You were charged Abdallah, that kind of stuff. But we just wanted to establish that there was a consequence for not being there.
Well, some of us really that if the dollar was the only thing, then we wasn't having too much of a problem with that. But it was so stringent that you could have been either watching the game for a certain amount of minutes, and it's almost like you're not getting picked.
Yes.
I remember some players were suffering that fate.
But
Sometimes they get dropped before the team even announced.
true. The whole reason was to instill that discipline, because sometimes you have to do it to a player that you really, as we would say, can't play without, but you have to send the right message so that the team really really gelled, because everybody was basically of the same mind. We wanted to win, and we felt we had a good chance, and we really put in the hard work, and it paid off, because in 1968, when the team was formed, we came into the league with all the already established teams that were doing well, and we won every game. We beat everybody, and we won everything that was offered. We won the league, we won the knockouts, we won most promising player, we won most valuable player, we won, there was something else. Yeah, we won everything that was offered. In fact, well, as far as I remember, when what do you call it, when they gave out trophies.
Awards.
When the award ceremony came, no other team came. I think one person came from a team. No other team came because nobody else won anything. And up to this day, it is still a record achievement in the annals and the history of football in Moba. Sibrani United.
Okay, from that Sipiani era now, Sipiani evolved to such a level that we went into the Etihad League, which is one of the most prominent community leagues. Forget the word minor. Community leagues in Trinidad and Tobago with national players. You would find most of the national players playing for different teams in that league. And could you recall what happened in that league?
Yeah, well, the year for that was 1971, I think, because in 1970, in the competition in 1970, we had made our own uniforms. It was gold, because 1970 was the World Cup with Brazil, and they played in gold, right? So we decided to make gold outfits, long sleeve, jewelry, somewhat like what I have here, I guess, and the pants, the suit, and we played very well. But I think there was a problem in 1970 when we had the
Uprising, the Black Power, yeah.
Uprising, right? So I'm not so sure that football was completed that year. But in 71, we were accepted in the Etihad Community League. Now the Etihad is at a level, you can consider maybe just below national level, but above all minor leagues. So it was where all the players, all the national players and ex-national players, they were in teams and they played. So the standard was extremely high. And we, coming from a little place like Moa, right? When we came, not many people expected much of us. However, what I would say is that they're usually in a league, everybody likes to see champions lose. So when we came and we started playing and we won our first game, etc., there are always people who gamble in sports. So you had these people who would bet on us, right? Regardless of who we were playing. They bet on us and they used to win, right? We win money. I found out many years later that one or two of my players used to get a little something.
Yeah,
when we won.
I'm guilty.
Yeah, I don't receive anything. But we were so good at that level that we also won the league. And that was another achievement because we came from outside. We met all these because how many national players we had at that time? Maybe three
Well, yeah, about two, which was you and Errol Sibro.
on RLC.
And then later I got called right after that because that was 71. I got called in 72.
But we met the teams with some of the national players that I knew, and we did win the league. And even the person who ran the league, Eddie Hart, was so impressed. He spoke highly of us. And even up to today, Mr. Eddie Hart speaks highly of me because one of the things that they found about us again was how disciplined we were when we came. So we really represented ourselves well, and we represented our community well. So that was Eddie Hart.
Yeah, within that time, you won national, and Errol Sibro was a national, and well, Errol came on, or Errol was there before you,
Errol was there.
right? Now, based on the national program, you played, I don't know how many caps, but could you recall some of the teams and any outings you had internationally or anything like that?
Answer that question. I want to also put on record that I represented the Port of Spain League that we played in. I played with Colts because remember, after Sibrani United, we were also playing with Colts football team in the first division in Trinidad. Both you and I were there. And under coach Dennis Yip, deceased, right? We changed the way Coles used to play before. But I played for Coles from as early as 1969. Yes, 69 and so on, yes. And so I represented Coles, and from representing Coles, I was picked to represent the Port of Spain League against the other leagues. I was also picked to represent North. So you had North of Trinidad playing South of Trinidad. And eventually, I made it onto the national team of Trinidad and Tobago.
But you have a little boast in line. You just talk about stopping the king.
Yeah. Well,
What's that one?
I'm coming to that. On the national team, I can't remember it was a year, I think Pele came to Trinidad, and I think he was playing, was it Santos? I think.
Santos.
And this is my own thing. I was not a regular I was a regular pick on the team, but not on the starting 11 for whatever reason. We won't go into that. But on that game, I was given a starting bit, a little bit out of position. They put me to play right wing back. But of course, we are playing against Santos, and the king is on the field. So my claim to fame is that at a particular time during the game, I had to isolate, so to speak, Pele. And of course, that's your idol. So the way I play my defense, I don't act. I let my forwards act and I react. So they have to decide what they're doing. And so he tried, something, and it didn't work. I took away the ball from the king. I proceeded to play it off to somebody, and then I went to my bench and I said, "Ole can take me off now." So my claim to fame is I took one away from the king, and not many people could say that. So that is my.
Yeah. All right. So you have all that experience under your belt. We end up being on the national, right? Obviously, I didn't stay, right? And then you end up coming here to Canada. What year? What year you came to Canada?
Well, I came to Canada for the first time, 1983.
Okay.
But I must jog your memory again because before you left in 1972.
Yes.
Before you left, we were involved in a football league in Port of Spain, the John F. Kennedy Football League. And for the final, we had a game against a team, I think it's Glory Guys.
Glory Guys.
Which was made up of some national players. Yeah. And there was a lot of talk before the game, but there seemed to be more talk during the game.
I remember
Right?
that.
But we took care of them, right? We took care of them. We beat them, right? And of course, you have a picture of that with us.
Yes, on the Facebook. That's the picture on the Facebook page.
I'm not so sure if in that picture you have a Beretani head. That picture you still have a Beretani head.
Yes, yes, I have a Veritas head.
Right. That picture is very, very close to my heart because a lot of times we played against teams that, when you look at the makeup, are supposed to be better than us, but we always cut them down. One, because we were disciplined, and two, because we were very talented and we knew how to play as a team.
You just captivate and put in the archives the winning tradition that came up to the Toronto here. Now, 83, you came up to Canada and you still have some ball in you. And
Yeah.
I decided, okay, I was a little hesitant with the street guys, which was Flemingdon. And because I know maybe T&D might have been more to your likings. But anyways, I signed you up with players, right? How was that for you? Because now Flemingdon is one of the main coverage of this history.
Well, for me, well, what my family didn't like about me being in Canada is that I told them when I reached, I spent all my time playing football. So even with my mom, who was there at the time, and my sister and cousin, they couldn't understand why I don't want to go and visit these sites and Niagara. And I said, I come to play football. You understand? And my brother was involved in football, so obviously that was it. So when I went to Flemingdon, the first day I came to where Flemingdon was, I got the excitement because the setting, once people begin to arrive and you see teams changing and things, that atmosphere was very, very encouraging for me. And then when we actually began to play, because of course one of the advantages that I always feel I have is that they don't know me. So they don't know what to expect. Right? But of course there were some people on the team I played for who knew me from Trinidad. So I played with more freedom. But however, I found that the standard of the league was good. It wasn't any backyard kind of. It was a good standard, and that teams came and they actually tried to play the game, and they tried to win. Right? But if I have to assess, like coming from where I came from, and
well, before you assess, we'll go into the T&D. Because I did. I don't want you to assess it with home yet. I wanna show that you had some more exposure here in Toronto. So I got you signed up with Irie in the T&D.
Yes.
Right? How you thought that T&D experience was for you?
Well, the T&D experience was something else, for want of a better expression, for me, because of course I'm playing in Flemingdon. Which every time you play, you understand a little more, right? And in your mind, without doing it, there's a comparison with what you're accustomed to. So you're kind of comparing your standard. The TND, I recognize is a higher league, right? And when I had the opportunity to play with Irie, I expected, right? Without seeing anybody, I expected that it was like I'm going into first division, like in Trinidad, right? So this is top kind of thing.
And it was first division.
It was first division. So when we started playing, I realized, it was relatively easy for me. Not when I say easy, it's not a normal football for me. And at this level, because the Irish team was also a good team, a very good team. So you had players who could play the game. So when you have players who could play the game, you make an assessment. Like for me, I make a 5-10 minute assessment of our position very quickly. So I knew what to do. And I could instruct people what to do based on their position. But one of the things I remember most the TM is, I mean, I played many games, but there's one game that stays really in my mind. I played against a team called Police Blues, I think.
Yeah.
Right? And I got instructions before the game, but it coincided with what I knew from Trinidad. When you are playing against any team named Police, you have to expect that they feel that they can do anything and get away. So I was warned by you and somebody else that, well, I could have seen they were big men, tall, strapping men. And I was told about a particular one who, if he jumps into you or anything, he's going to put you out in the way, you know, that kind of stuff. But those things don't bother me because I have played against players like that. I always play with my game. But I remember the Polish Blues evening was a night game. And the first thing I noticed is that the ground was only sand, basically. I didn't see any grass. You know, we are accustomed to that too. And I remember in that game, we got a free kick, right, from over in our half. And I told them, I don't know, I probably asked it, or I don't know if it was given to me because it probably.
No, I asked Roland to let you kick it.
And depending on how the wall was set up, and I felt, you know, I could try to score from here because I used to do that in Trinidad. But of course, they didn't know that. So I struck the ball with the outside of my right foot. And of course, you know, usually goalkeepers judge distance, but I don't judge power. And from there, I scored. You understand? I mean, it was celebration ground. That has stuck in my mind to this day. I didn't happen yesterday. Because in that game, of course, we had encounters with the big guy and stuff. But since we know what he does, we didn't give him any opportunity to be successful.
So, yeah, but that was one of the few games we beat them, and we normally tie with them.
Oh, yeah. But that, to me, it was how I assess teams like that is that as long as you're coming to play and you have those kind of things in your mind to damage people and stuff, you are disadvantaged to anybody who understands the game and understands how to deal with that. And for me, that is not an issue. You have an issue when you meet a team who is a good team and come to play football. That is when you really have a test. You see? But if like comparing the
so now you can compare. Now based on all the different leagues, I think the game you spoke about with the Glory guys,
yeah,
we could consider them a minor league because that was JFK League. Etihad, I consider that a community league. Flemingdon, I consider Flemingdon community because there's a mixture of minor league teams and good teams, right? So how you look at that whole mixture, if you had to compare, and this is a very difficult one I'm giving you here now, if you had to break down leagues, just the league, the Etihad League, the Flemingdon League, the T&D League, how you break down those 5 leagues?
All right. As much as I can remember of the T&D League, right? Because there are not too many other things that stand out. I think of the T&D League, I probably thought it would have been probably kind of close to when I used to play at times the Forest Green Football League with Malvern and Maple and stuff. But I think the Forest Green League would have had a little edge because the teams at that time were teams that have been functioning for years, right? Because they go as far back as in the 30s and 40s. So you're talking about established things. So organized or properly organized and stuff. So it's like how you have, let's say, how can I compare that? Like how you have any big club, Manchester United, they have been established. So now, even if you have a new influx and stuff, they are coming into something that is already established. So the T&D League, right? Mm-hmm. I think if I have to put it anywhere close, I will put it maybe just under the Port of Spain Football League. The, the Eddie Hart League is probably what I might put the T&D League a little closer to. Right?
It's above minor league.
Right? It's not a minor league, right? But it is not top of the line, because again, sometimes you have 9 teams in a league and you basically it's between 4. You understand? So that really affects the standard. So you have to, you probably as a spectator, you view when you decide when you want to go and watch games depending on who playing who.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
The other league was the Flemingdon. Flemingdon for me, right, was Flemingdon league for me was twofold, right? Besides the opportunity to play football, to play with my brother, to play with some people I know from over who I haven't seen since they left, right? That was one thing. It was another thing to also experience football out of Trinidad, right? Even though it's Trinidadians and they came into a different culture, and I wanted to see what was different, how different did we things, right? One of the things, you know, as we went on, and probably even as I came back, I learned about things like that is that with people like you, I don't know who was there together with you, but of course you remember then, the way you all went about organizing is what made the league for me exciting to play. It wasn't just football. It was you look forward, right? Because it's what I knew from home, right? It's what I knew from home. You're looking forward to the next game, right? And what I saw, so it brought people out. And the little I know of you know, places in Canada and so is that the more you can get community to come out to things, is the better it is for your community. Otherwise, they just look at everybody as wherever. But if they come down to the park and they see fellas interacting, and then the lime after and stuff like that, it was for me, it was like being home. When I was in Flemingdon, it was like being home. The football is we people basically. I mean, if you want to say blacks, you could say wherever you want. It wasn't blacks. It was home away from home. So the level was good most of the time. But of course, like have little what I call foolish incidents of people who probably realize that they can't win or they're not up to scratch and will try everything else and, you know, try to disrupt and some of them would even try to see if they could instigate some kind or whatever. But that aside, the Flemingdon League was of a good enough standard. I believe if people took young fellas playing in the Flemingdon, if they were really serious about football, it is a place where they could have actually played seriously and move up to the next level.
Yeah, we did have some of them. As a matter of fact, the coach of the Ricky Gill's team was a Flemingdon guy, goalkeeper. Right. So so you said it well, because it had the, put it this way, it had the potential, and the fact also is because we came from the Caribbean, it is our world.
Yes.
And that's why you felt like you were home.
Yeah. Like home. I mean, no, I was home, but when you get by the football field, if you're caught up in a game, you're sure you're home.
Yeah. You look around buildings and all that.
But when it's halftime, when at the end of the game, you come back to the area and hey, it's playing.
Yeah.
But that and you know, so in terms of the level of all the leagues we talk about, all the leagues we talk about, there is none that I would play on to say whether it wasn't good or anything, because they all played an important part in the community and for the individuals who were playing. Because I mean, we live in long enough now to realize that if we had more Flemingdon leagues, Flemingdon Park leagues and stuff, we have less time for young people to have to involve in things that, you know, are not beneficial. Because those who love football will play football if it's there. Those who like basketball will play basketball if it's there, if it's properly organized. And that is the way we grew up knowing, because nobody invited us to play football. We just, I don't know, we just started playing football.
Yeah.
We just started. We used to go down on probably when we had the chance to go, we used to go and look at Leroy.
Yeah.
And then go and look. So we knew players, and it as if in you already decided, well, you're just waiting for your time.
That's right. It's something to follow. It has the follow up.
So, and that is one of the things I would accredit a league like Flemingdon, because one of the things I recognize is when I came and started training the league, is that players used to bring their family. Your wife come, your children come, you know, different. And you look at it, like you say, and you're looking at future, because some of the young boys, they're looking at daddy, they're looking at uncle, they're looking at whoever, and they could see themselves. So this was the plus for me for Flemingdon. In fact, when I came back up, I don't think football was playing anymore.
Yeah, it was playing, but when you came back in '88, I was in Madrid, and yeah, it was playing, but I think the timing was different, right?
Oh,
We played in '88 in Flemingdon. Yeah.
yeah.
The most popular question, because there's an update to that right now. Normally, knowing that you're talking about being on the national team, people would say, well, how come you're asking the man about seeing that he was a national player about Trinidad and Tobago football? So I know, you know, you can't stay in it too long, but I know it's not much going on there, and I would still ask it anyway. Think about the Trinidad and Tobago football. See that you're an ex-national player and stuff.
Well, I'll be honest with you. After I kind of stopped playing national football before I should have, right? Of course, for a lot of personal reasons and stuff. But I used to make it my business to be into what's happening in football. In those days, that is a long time ago. I was not sure that the powers that be knew what they wanted. When we look at our neighbors that were way below us, and you see the things that they put in place for the progress of their football, we are better than them because we have better players, but we're not putting the things in place to develop our football. Because remember, we started playing football when we were going to school, right? So we didn't really have coaches. Right? We didn't.
We were playing it all the time. We were into it. We have passion.
So eventually, when we found ourselves under a coach or coaches, it was easy for the coach just to speak to you, just to let you know what they want, and we could give that. What I found, and what to a certain extent I still find with Trinidad football, is that we don't pay attention. We don't pay enough attention to building football from very low down, from where you can really channel the players. First of all, discipline-wise. Secondly, understanding the game, because we get caught up too much with this year. Some children coming to secondary school and have a fellow who could play right away. He's our star, so we throw him out there. We don't do anything with him. So if he has ability, he will always kind of look good, but you don't have a team. Sometimes with our football, because right now, I've now started kind of following it a little bit because I've stopped for years. I actually kind of paid attention because of you. Because remember, you came to Trinidad to follow because that's what you do. And you say how you couldn't understand how come I go and see games and all that. But I was disenchanted. And to me, people were missing the point. Of course, being a teacher, we know about development, right? We know about taking it from its embryonic stage, from baby stage, and nurturing it and building it up, right? To me, they weren't doing that. So what Trinidad does, I know about now, is that if midget in Mova looking good, we grab him.
Yes.
But they are yet to prove to me that they can take these players and make them.
In other words, mold them.
All we want is raw talent. We want stars, like ready made, and just put them in. But all you ended up with is a set of people who could play football, but you don't have a team. And right now, because I know we just went to wherever we went to go and play our World Cup game against Guyana, which we have to play in some other country. And we have a lot of players that unfortunately you have to just bring together because of COVID and stuff. The team is not tested. And I see that people have a problem with the coach because he calls some older players. But if you go into a situation like this, you don't think you will go with what is right, at least some of what is right?
Yeah.
You can't go in now and pick a whole new bunch of
15 or 20 people who ain't kick no ball, who ain't play at this level and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, most coaches would do that. But I really don't have time because I want to thank you for giving me the time and the opportunity to talk to you today. Your information will be valuable. And again, keep safe and hope to talk to you soon.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure always.
All right.
Bye.